One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. With the sequel to Disney's 2010 Alice in Wonderland entitled Through the Looking Glass already in theaters, and coming soon to Blu-ray and DVD, I thought it would be a good time to shed some much-needed light on what I feel is the best film adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. I am probably the only person on the planet that cares about this film, and since there probably won't be another big-screen Alice adaptation for some time to come, I realize that this may be my only chance that I will have for a while to be able to review this film and also have the internet in alignment with popular culture search engines to enable that at least a few people will be able to find this review and learn about this particular adaptation of Lewis Carroll's classic story. First, I should go on record to state that while I have been a fan of a good portion of Tim Burton's work, I am not a fan of the 2010 film that he directed for Disney. This film tries to turn Alice in Wonderland into the Chronicles of Narnia. Alice in Wonderland is not about battles or prophecies. It's about absurdity, bizarre mathematics, and the language of dreams. Not that the general public noticed or cared, because Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland made huge box office, thus warranting the sequel. Now, I first read the two Lewis Carroll books, Alice Adventures in Wonderland, now referred to as Alice in Wonderland for short, and Alice Through the Looking Glass, while I was in my early 20s, and I was immediately entranced by how well it captured both the horrific and comic absurdity that dreams can have. The book, Alice Adventures in Wonderland, has no logical story or character arc. And to me, that's the point, because neither do dreams. Both books, Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, have Alice waking up from a dream at the end. And because of this, Alice is no different a character at the end of the story than she was at the beginning. She learns no lessons and therefore has no character arc. And in Story Structure 101, that's a no-no. Even with the dream plot device, had this story been written today, there would have been some character flaw exposed about her at the beginning of the book, before she enters Wonderland. Then her adventure in Wonderland would have made her aware of that character flaw and forced her to confront it and overcome it. But as literature, Alice in Wonderland breaks all the rules. Alice's main function in the story is to serve as an innocent and impressionable point of view into the world of Wonderland, and in my opinion, into the world of dreams, and into the mystifying world of adults as interpreted through dreams from the viewpoint of a child. And while that last part is just my opinion, Lewis Carroll's Alice books can also be interpreted as just a bunch of literary nonsense. And it is. But it also happens to be a very clever, intelligent, and fun lot of literary nonsense. Loaded with dreamlike hallucinogenic imagery, humorous wordplay, and bizarre mathematics, the Alice books dance through absurdity with childlike glee and reckless abandon.
When we were little, we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise.
Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?
Called him Tortoise because he taught us.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question.
In all my years, no other book and few little art, with the exception of maybe George Harriman's Crazy Cat comic strips, has managed to make me feel like I have smoked something illegal, even when I haven't. And for me, no other film adaptation of the Alice books has ever captured everything that I have just stated about these books better than the 1933 Paramount Pictures adaptation entitled Alice in Wonderland. Now, this film is a PreCode Hollywood movie, having been produced and released before the introduction of the Hollywood Censorship Code, also referred to as the Hays Code. Now, I should state that there is nothing in this film that isn't suitable for family viewing, but I do wonder if some of the stranger, more surreal moments of this film would have made it to this screen version if it had been made after the Hays Code. By way of example, pre-code Betty Boop cartoons are strange and surreal visual delights, and you can definitely feel and see the difference in the pre-code versus the post-code cartoons. And this does make me wonder what a post-code version of this film might have been like had it been made just a little bit later. Now, the film features what would have been considered an all-star cast of movie stars of the day, with the only then unknown being the role of its title character. The first thing that surprises me about this adaptation, that I don't see in any other, is that the majority of the stars in this production are so covered in makeup and prosthetics that they are all mostly unrecognizable. So much so that the opening credits features each celebrity both in and out of makeup, so that audiences of 1933 would know what actor is playing what character. To me, this is still startling that this ever happened. Standard Hollywood wisdom has always been, if you're going to cast a star in a role, you don't not show their face. And while this may have contributed to the film's poor box office, the film as a piece of cinema is the better for it, because so many of these stars of the time are so hidden behind makeup. You see the characters of the Alice books brought to life, rather than seeing famous stars of the day portraying characters from the Alice books. Of course, when Humpty Dumpty appears on screen, there is no mistaking the voice of W.C. Fields. And as I watch the Humpty Dumpty sequence, I can't help but wonder if W.C. Fields was even really on set during this scene, because he didn't need to be. Any puppeteer could have worked the physical character, and Fields could have just dubbed in the voice after the fact. Now, the film combines elements from both Alice books, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass. The film opens with events from Through the Looking Glass, with Alice entering the mirror and a very cool nightmarish visual. Now remember that this film was made during the earliest days of Hollywood, decades before the dawn of digital effects, and when the book on practical special effects was being written by the technicians and artists working on films like the one I am discussing now. To this day, I am still amazed at how this particular effect was achieved. And this brings me to one of my favorite aspects of the film, its visuals. The makeup, the set designs, and its visual effects capture the dreamlike surrealism of the books, and the fact that it's a black and white only film adds to the overall effect. Looking at the color lobby cards used to promote the film, it's easy to see that this would not be the same movie in color. Once in the garden, Alice follows the White Rabbit down the rabbit hole, and so we get the beginnings of both books. After that, we move back and forth between both books. From Alice in Wonderland, we get the Advice from the Caterpillar, the Mad Tea Party, the Mock Turtle Story, and from Through the Looking Glass, we get Tweedledum and Tweedledee, Humpty Dumpty, and the White Knight. Even though this film is combining elements from both Alice books, there is a slavish amount of detail to staying as true to Lewis Carroll's original dialogue and to evoke John Tenniel's original illustrations.
It is. And the moral of that is, be what you would like to be. Or, to put it more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others that what you were or might have been was not otherwise than what you had been would have appeared to them to be otherwise.
I should understand that better if it were written down. I can't quite...
All throughout, characters change personalities like socks, and sometimes backgrounds and settings just fade from one to the other, with no meaning or context, just like they do in the book, and in dreams. And through it all, Alice is rarely horrified or shocked. Instead, she is mostly delightfully amused, as if this is all a game, and none of the other characters ever realize that she is secretly in charge of the rules of the game. A while back, a friend of mine who collects film adaptations of Alice in Wonderland invited me to check out a surreal black and white version from her collection that was produced in the 60s. When she followed up with me to see how I liked it, I told her that I liked certain aspects of it, but that overall I didn't care for it. I felt it was trying too hard to be surreal when it doesn't need to. The 1933 version doesn't try to be surreal. It just is. But mostly, I didn't care for it because I didn't care for the portrayal of Alice in this version. In explaining to her that in any adaptation of this book, the audience needs to like Alice. Charlotte Henry is great as Alice. Like Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz, she is a teenager playing a much younger girl, and she does it very convincingly, bringing a wonderful sense of childlike delight at discovering every new thing she encounters. Alice in Wonderland works because the filmmakers are not trying to create their own take on the source material. They are simply trying their best to translate the mood, humor, and tone of the original books to screen. The one bit of credit that I do have to give the Tim Burton Disney 2010 film is that it made the DVD release of this 1933 version possible. The film was originally a box office flop. The original film had a running time of 90 minutes, but was cut down to 77 minutes when it was sold to TV. No DVD release has been available till the 2010 film came out. It was an obvious attempt to cash in, but I am grateful for it. The released DVD version is the 77-minute version of the film, and I have no idea if the 90-minute version exists, but if there ever was going to be a proper Blu-ray release, it would be great if the original 90-minute version could be released with some proper bonus features that would give fans of this film more historical background and contextual information. The 1933 film version of Alice in Wonderland deserves a place not only with fantasy films, but with absurdist surrealist films. This is TJR. I hope you enjoyed this review, and looking forward to doing more for you. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Hi, this is TJR, and have you seen this movie? What did you think of this review? And does this review make you want to see this movie? I'll be curious to read your comments, and thanks again for watching. Bye.